1916. There's a story. I don't know if it's true or not, apocryphal or, but it shows just how Motörhead were on their uppers anyway. If it's true, that Lemmy moved to LA when he relocated to LA from England. He had like about $500 left in his bank account. Um, and Motörhead were in the late 80s had been a very, very difficult, tough time for Motörhead. They couldn't release any albums because they had these court battles going on with record labels. Their last album had not been a critical or commercial success for rock and roll. Personally, for me, it was strong songs, but the production just sucked. But I've done a video about that one already. But Lemmy got out. Lemmy managed to move to LA, which he'd been wanting to do like forever. I mean, since going to America and particularly LA with Hawkwind in the early 70s. And the other members at the time, I mean, no one knew it was going to be Filthy Animal's last album, but Filthy loved America, loved the States as well. Phil Campbell loved it. The only one who was a bit reserved about it, Lemmy always said he was a bit reserved with America, couldn't quite get the culture or something, was Wurzel. And that might have sowed the first seeds for why Wurzel became so unhappy in the band and unhappy generally. They very much became Motörhead at the start of the 1990s. They kind of went stateside, and Wurzel was never comfortable with that. Having never been to the States, I couldn't really comment on the cultural thing, but the languages are the same. But for Lemmy anyway, it was completely, took 10 years off him, and they had a new fire in their belly, as it were, Motörhead, and they released 1916 on, and of course, major label deal. Somehow they got, after all the crap with the record labels, and despite the fact that they've been going down, sales and stuff, although they were still like a very respected live draw. But they got this major deal with Sony, and 1916 was the album, and completely, got Motörhead back up. I mean, for a while, I mean, it being Motörhead, it was all going to go tits up again on basically the next album. But so 1916, the title track, 1916, was the ballad about the First World War, Lemmy being into all things military history. This one specifically about the Battle of the Somme, I believe. Or the Somme, the offensive, but the first day of the Somme, the over the top, when the captain blew his whistle, and all these poor soldiers had to go to the top of the trench and just run towards the enemy trenches with machine guns going back and forth. And on that first day, 60,000 English alone were killed or injured. In fact, 20,000 English were killed. So Lemmy put some stuff. Well, Lemmy played 1916, the track of the cello. He played it to an old guy he knew, an old gentleman who'd been a soldier, and he'd almost been like a boy soldier, as it were. 16 years old when I went to war to fight for a land for heroes. And Lemmy said he felt uncomfortable because this gentleman's kind of he choked up a bit, and then he said he could remember one of these over the top. He's like that, absolutely beside himself with terror. I can't even imagine it. And he looked around him, and he saw everyone was lying down. All his mates, all his squadron, or whatever the word is, regiment. They're all lying down, and he said, "I never heard an order to lie down." Then he realised they hadn't lied down because of the order. They'd all been shot. It's just machine guns. Somehow they'd missed him, and he survived. So I mean, it was just a complete, as Lemmy said in his autobiography, up until certainly into the 21st century, probably still now, there's some towns in the north of England that have their male population isn't as high as it should be, because particularly towns up north, they got decimated in the First World War. The whole male population would go, or most of the male population, farm hands, factory workers, whatever, and these guys were just getting slaughtered. And officers, the average life expectancy for an officer was 6 weeks. Anyway, so that was Lemmy's inspiration for 1916. Very moving track. Let's say he said we could never play it live, and he never tried it because he said you'd have to have absolute quiet, and you weren't going to get that at a Motörhead show. I mean, I reckon out of respect, the audience would have actually gone quiet because it's Lemmy. but you know, you'd have had to cart around a cello player. Is it cello or cello? Or you have to cart around a cello player with him, so probably wasn't economically viable. So that was the ballad, but elsewhere it was bang, business unusual, and then some. You know, one to sing the blues. I'm so bad, I don't care. No voice in the sky. 3 tracks that just like bang, bang, bang. So strong and just so striking and new. From, you know, I really do feel. Just even the titles, just they really grab your attention straight away. One to sing the blues. You know, I'm so bad, babe, I don't care. And then no voices in the sky. Fantastic song titles, and of course they're the main part of the chorus. You know, really striking, catching, just looking at them, and then you hear them. One to sing the blues, you know, I wish you well, babe. I mean, ultimate breakup song, that one, when you still, oh God, man, I'm still, you know, you still feel for that person. You know, I think, what's the last thing? Well, he's doing from male perspective, was all the girls I see don't make no difference to me. You know, listen to me faking while my heart is breaking. Miss you, now you're gone. I am the one to sing the blues. And then that brilliant solo, that I think it's Wurzel, that last solo, one of Magic. And then you just, whoa, and then just we're getting wow, and then I'm so bad I don't care coming. It's just that's like that riff is like it's like a car alarm or something. It's just instant. It's just got you. I mean, I just figured out recently on the guitar. I did an acoustic cover of it on my channel, singing actually, and yeah, really great riff. And no voices in the sky. Lemmy's Swipe at Religion. Again, just so catchy. And they're going to Brazil, the sort of Good Time Boogie, and there's live. They did this live pretty much up to the end. You know, when Lemmy was getting sick, they still did this one. And man, it's one of the things I have about Mickey D. He just, to me, I mean, he's great, Mickey D. Don't get me wrong, you know, but just some songs of Motörhead, he just sort of steamrolled his way through. It's this thing I have that. I mean, Mickey D didn't have much respect for Filthy Phil. He said he was a very average drummer. He didn't have much time, or he doesn't. You know, he didn't have much time for him. Well, Phil's dead now, but he said as a person he was great. But one thing I like Filthy Phil was just he had this kind of swing, that sort of he do. And they do this one going to Brazil live on Everything Loud and Everything Else, which was I think a film crew followed them around Germany, or a couple of gigs in Germany, in the spring of '91. I think the same time as the Gulf War was taking place. And they do this one, and it's absolutely storming. It's brilliant. It's just it grooves. But then they did it, say, if, you know, Mickey D, Lemmy, and Phil Campbell, which is, it was just too fast, and that, anyway, it's just gone off on that one there. But yeah, I've moaned about this before to other people like Motörhead. They're like, man, it's Motörhead, dude, you know, of course it's fast. It's like, well, yeah, but, you know, sometimes they have a bit of a swing. And then they do that one too fast for me. And on that same Everything Loud and Everything Else, it's just by the by, but they got a version of it just because you got the power, which normally I wasn't too fussed about that track. But that on the video, well, that video I had back in the day, but you can get on YouTube now and get the whole thing. But they sort of do it. I was like, that's much better, just sped up. Instead of that, because it's a bit of an average riff, to be honest, and especially when they slow it down, it gets a bit turgid for me. But when they sped up, it's like it really came into its own. So anyway, one they needed to slow down, the other one they needed to speed up. And yeah, Going to Brazil wasn't. Yeah, again, a striking song title. You know, Going to Brazil sounds like a thriller or something, like a novel. Then Five Nightmare, The Dream Time. Really great, eerie track. Steel Needles, Kiss Your Pretty Eyes. And Lemmy had a great, you know, fun recording that. And what I thought for years was I just thought he'd done that sort of goblin talk, you know, when he did Orgasmatron live. He did that, and when, you know, over this guitar parts and stuff. And it sounds like that on Nightmare, The Dream Time, but it's actually backwards. And you listen to it, like someone stuck it up on YouTube again, it's like they've done it, you know, the right way. And it's like, I will never subscribe to your narrow, bigoted beliefs or something, you know, all about thinking for yourself and stuff, which in this day and age is definitely a important thing, because man, this censoring is getting out of control. Anyway, let's love Nightmare Dream Time. Love Me Forever, another a great, well, heavy ballad. I don't know how would you describe it. And Doro did a version of this. I must check out on YouTube, actually. I should have done it before recording this video, but I know she did one with Lemmy, but I've seen them doing it live, and Mickey D's actually a while back now. I can't know if there's another drummer and they just get Mickey D as a guest, but he's behind a normal drum kit. Like, it's not the Mickey D kit. So it's just like, it just looks completely huge. It's like, this drum kit is like just, one bass drum and stuff. It just looks like something for an elf or a kid's drum kit. And Mickey D sort of playing this thing. But yeah, it sounded really good with Dora. An Angel City, or Lemmy's homage ode. Lemmy's ode to LA. He just loved LA. I'll grow my hair, live in Bel Air, keep rattlesnakes in my bed, and drink Bon Jovi's booze for free and stuff. It was great, talking to the devil on the bat phone all the time, and all that sort of thing. Yeah, just a complete celebration of life in LA, lying in the sun. I don't think I say this at the beginning, but he's always like, why people in England would get snotty from, like, why'd you move to LA? And he went, oh, the sun's shining, women wear less, and everything's half the price. Any questions? Pretty good logic. My man, I've got relatives in LA, actually. I should go, I've got to get out there one day. Make My Day. Please, please stay. Come over and make my day. Fantastic. Great track. Killer chorus. And again, that solo at the end. I think that's Wurzel. Wurzel and Phil, both brilliant guitarists, but Wurzel had this kind of melodic... Well, so did Phil, to be honest, but I'm pretty sure it's Wurzel. And so for my two favourite solos on this album, like the end one on... the one to sing the blues, and I think it's the outro, what you call outro, when they're playing, "Oh God, please shine a light on me, shine a light on me." That thing. When he's playing over the top of that as well, the outro or something. Anyway, number 9, Ramones. Apparently, this one started as a slow blues track. Lemmy kept saying, "Play it a bit faster, play it a bit faster, play it a bit faster." But originally it was a really slow one, and I don't know if it was then it was called Ramones, because that wouldn't have made much sense to a slow track about Ramones, because, the Ramones, of course, everything breakneck speed, 2 minutes long. Obviously, Lemmy loved the Ramones. I can't say I've ever been able to get into them, but that's just me. But yeah, that was his ode to the Ramones. On that Everything Louder Than Everything Else video I've talked about earlier on, he introduced it. Says this is dedicated to 4 guys from New York that played as long and as loud and as fast as we have, or it's worse to that effect. So he definitely held them in great esteem. Number 10, Shut You Down. This is the only one to me it's vaguely fillery. Vaguely filler-like. I can still perfectly listen to it. It's fine. I guess I better shut you down. Yeah, One Eye Jack better shut my back. Yeah, I don't know. Especially as there was 2 other tracks I think came out the same sessions that didn't make onto the album. I think they came out as B-sides or something, maybe, to One Sing the Blues. In fact, One Sing the Blues has got able to click on it. So what have we got? Just looking at genre speed metal. God above, this is Wikipedia. One Sing the Blues, speed metal, really? Oh right, okay. It was the B-side, Dead Man's Hand. So it was a B-side to the One to Sing the Blues. And 12-inch CD singles. Oh yeah, Dead Man's Hand and Eagle Rock, as well as Shut You Down. But Dead Man's Hand and Eagle Rock never made it onto the album. And for me personally, either one of those 2 tracks could have replaced Shut You Down. I really like them both, Eagle Rock and Dead Man's Hand. Shut You Down's fine, but yeah. Then again, on the original album, there's like 11 tracks. I don't know why they couldn't stretch to 13. Maybe they're superstitious. Bad number. And then, of course, 1916 said at the end, the ballad. There was a bit of... So they had producer originally as a guy called Ed Stasium, who apparently plastered some Lemmy one day caught him sticking tambourines and all these weird percussive stuff all over one of the tracks, and Lemmy wasn't happy with it because hadn't, he hadn't told anyone he was doing it or something, and no one was sure why he'd taken it upon himself to do it. So he got fired, and Pete Solly came in. Everything was great after that. For me, did I mention that? God, my memory is crap, but I don't know. For me, the production does slightly let it down in places. If I'm really picky, it just has that slightly woolly thing, like the drum, like start of Monsters in the Blues. The drums sound a bit muffled and that, but that is really nitpicking. And to be honest, Motörhead, they've been through so much crap to actually have done this album, to got back up, and that is really, really to their credit. So this is one thing where anyone could be a critic, and people are actually doing it. So I feel like guilty that I've even mentioned it, because it's just such a great classic album, and I love it. And I remember the first time I heard it. It was a few years after it was released, about '96. Yeah, and it definitely got Motorhead back up a bit, and they were that If Thing Loud and Living, that live thing when they go around Germany, they're definitely on an up. Phil Campbell says, the last record we recorded, i.e. Rock and Roll, he said they gave us 10 days in the studio and told us that was it. He said we need 10 days to sober up from this new deal. It's great. And they got better audience, bigger audience and stuff. But I don't think they sold that many copies of it. Compared, because that they were up for a Grammy for it, and they were against Metallica, who, what's it done? I don't know, the Black Album, but Metallica done a Black Album that they sold X million of this Black Album, and Motorhead were currently at about 30,000 copies of 1916. So they weren't really in the running, so to speak, but it definitely got their street cred right up, and they were playing bigger and better halls, and they were able to get back. They hadn't been playing in England apparently, or they'd only been able to do a couple of gigs. They couldn't tour. They couldn't get someone to underwrite the show. Apparently, you have to pay a load of money to underwrite a show, whatever that means. But they were finally able to tour around England, and Lemmy said it finally amused him to see that they got big crowds. Yeah, so that's 1916. So Motorhead were briefly, back up again, almost a decade or so after their last great, when they were huge. It wasn't going to last, but Motorhead never had the best of luck.